And there is no alternative to that for a lot of young people, it would seem.
Well, you're hardly given the opportunity to make choices. When you get into the university, there are already people looking around, scouting for viable candidates, should I put it that way. There are people looking around, and so they go around based sometimes on academic prowess and sometimes on physical stature. They look for people to initiate into their groups. And of course, some of us go into cultism because they've been told stories. When you graduate, you'll get a job easily. The people, come see the people who are in this group. You won't have to look for a job one day.
But isn't that the reality? Are they telling lies?
To a large extent, it is true, but not totally so. There are so many people who have been in the cults, graduates and jobless. What happened to them? It's difficult to talk about this thing without incriminating people, but I'm going to try. People are made heads of parastatals. Politicians receive appointments. Heads of committees in the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. When they want to reach out and employ people to work with them in those parastatals, who do you think they reach out to? Members of their cult. Because this thing has gone beyond the university campus. It's now in politics. It's now in the boardrooms. Unfortunately, it's also gone downward to the secondary schools and now to the streets. Even the uneducated have been empowered with not only weapons, but a reason to kill, a reason to fight, a perceived enemy. You know, soldiers of vain glory. We were already in the trenches before we knew what the war was all about. After we graduated from schools and met some of the people that we fought and sought to kill, I asked myself many times, what did this man do wrong? Or what did I do to become a victim to so many people? I could hardly walk the streets without looking over my shoulder to see who was coming. And I lived like that for many, many years. What for? What did I do? Just because I belonged to a certain association, a sworn enemy of other associations, confraternities. Violent cultism has eaten deep into our society without us realizing it.
I do recall that sometime in the 90s, I think, I'm not sure when precisely now, then we used to watch the news a lot. I was a young child and, you know, we're worried about cultism. It was really it was on rampage then. And there was a major government crackdown on cultism, I think sometime in the mid-90s to perhaps the late 90s, which made school, I mean, going to university far easier for people like us. We went without worrying too much about cultism. I don't think that it died, but it definitely was on the down low. Just wondering, where would you say that the influence, would you really agree with those who say that the influence of cultists is waning in universities? I mean, even though I had that sense of security when I went to the university, I do not know what obtains today.
I was just going to say,
yes,
it was a false sense of security. When people are driven into a cover, the cover of the night, when people are driven on the cover, the problem is still there, but you just don't see them. That's more dangerous, if you ask me. Many of the soldiers and secret service people who were sent to universities to check cultism became cult members. And I know many of them. They became cult members. And it was not in a bid to infiltrate the organizations. They loved what they saw. And now they began to act in support of certain cult groups.
What really was the lure? I mean, on the inside, even though you say at the end of the day, you were soldiers of vainglory, what really was on the inside that you would say would even suck in people who already had some relative power?
It's something you can't explain away ordinarily. It's not the music. The music was good. It's not the liquor. It was good. It's not the sense of power. you know, knowing that you are the king around this place and you call the shots. If there were girls doing runs in the universities, they came back to pay dues to you so you could make some money. If there were boys who you felt then, you could just quieten anybody because of this sense of fear that you had. Beyond all that, every cult group admits people through an oath. And that's spiritual. That's powerful. That's very strong. To join a cult, you'll have to drop your blood somewhere and get into some kind of oath. That's the strongest thing about cultism. That's the reason it's so difficult to get a cultist to confess. That's the reason he is happiest when there is danger, when there's a crackdown. That's when the adrenaline pumps and he wants to be on the streets. He doesn't want to be kept away at that time. That's the reason. He would run towards danger instead of away from it.
Well, the problem is spreading now, but we have to take a moment. When we return, Buchi found the way out through religion. Is that the only way? Please stay with us.